We're live, it says. Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Hello, friends. Thank you guys for joining us today. We're doing a live stream Q&A. This is my mother.
Hello.
It's nice to be back here with you because we did this in June, right? It was a while ago. But we are going to be answering some questions from my premium Substack subscribers today. So if you are interested in submitting questions for these live stream Q&As, make sure to head over to classicallyabby.substack.com so that you can submit questions for videos like this. And it's going to be nice because we have some questions specifically for you. And I have some questions. I think I have like one question for me, but we can talk about it and go back and forth. But we always have fun with these, and it's always fun to engage with you guys in the comments. Big thank you to our moderator. So make sure at the end of this video, when we sign out, to say thank you to our live stream moderator so that we can keep the comments good and clean. Let me know, can everyone hear me? I just want to make sure that everyone can hear what I'm saying. Just because I see here that maybe the audio is a little bit weird. So just say you can hear me if you can before we get started with the questions. Okay, yeah, people are saying that they can hear us. Great. Just wanted to make sure. So yeah, we've got a few questions today that we're going to do. And thank you for coming and visiting me. Yeah, I know. It's so fun. How often do we get to do? I mean, this summer I've seen you a lot.
Yes, we've seen each other about every 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah, which has been so nice. I mean, the big difference now is that we're living on the same coast.
Yes. So it's a lot different to have a 2.5 hour flight than a 6 hour flight.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm not interested in 6 hour flights anymore. I can't justify them.
Totally done.
So yeah, but we had a nice day and it's been busy today. We've done a lot, but as far as working, but I think we're going to hop into the questions.
Go.
Are you ready?
I am ready.
Okay, so let's get started. We got a lot of good questions from you guys, so thanks for submitting them. So the first question we're going to do is an easy one, which is, could your mom share her favorite crock pot dinner recipe?
You know, when I was younger, I used to do more crock pot stuff, but it meant planning in the morning and then going to work. And then by the time I was done with work, it would be home. I would come home and it would be done.
Right.
I don't really do that kind of cooking very much anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, the best crock pot recipe I have is making cholent, which is a Jewish meat stew for our Shabbat.
Mm-hmm.
And
I've talked about this on my channel and on my Instagram.
Yeah,
a number of times because I love it.
Yeah, there's a really good recipe in a cookbook called The Kosher Palette.
Mm-hmm.
And I change it a little bit. So if anybody wants that recipe, I can you can email Abby and we can give it out.
Yeah, maybe I'll include it in a Substack newsletter.
Yeah. So that's a good one. But Abby reminded me that what I really my specialty is really soups.
My mom is so good at making soup. It's like I need you to give me all your recipes because I only make like 2 or 3 soups. There's this one recipe. You were always very good at cream of soups.
Yeah, that aren't cream at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they have no cream in them. But I figured out early that if I had people over for dinner or lunch, if I served soup, somehow it made them feel like it was really a special meal. That one extra course made them feel so special. And it doesn't take a lot of extra time. And it just gives everybody a really warm feeling inside. So
I love that. This is my mom's version of being classic. I need you to look fancy. You have 3 courses. You have soup, you have salad, and you have the main course. Mm-hmm. And it actually does work. When you go to someone's house and you see like 3 courses, you're like, wow, this is fancy.
Yeah.
So what I actually don't know. Do you have a favorite soup?
Well, lately I've been making cream of asparagus soup, which doesn't have cream. But it does have asparagus.
Yeah, I know. So this is a funny thing, which is that Jacob doesn't like to eat the hard parts of the asparagus, which most people don't. I mean, it's gross. So we've been trying to figure out a way. I like the flavor of asparagus. So we've been trying to figure out a way to prepare it. And he keeps asking me to make it cream of asparagus soup.
Before I leave, I will teach you how to make cream of asparagus. Very simple recipe. Takes 15 minutes.
Right. Exactly. I need that by the end of this trip.
Yeah.
Someone said that they like my hair, which is so nice. Thank you so much. I'm just gonna quickly pause the questions to explain what I've been doing with my hair lately. So I've talked about on my channel a few times that my hair doesn't really hold a curl. So I have a bunch of hair tools. My mom knows this and it freaks her out because I have way too many. And I would always use like a 1 inch or maybe even a 1 1/8 inch or whatever. And my curls would fall out in like a day. So I've transferred over to doing like a 1/2 inch. It's very small, but my curls will last until I wash my hair. And I think it does look a little 70s, but I like it.
Yeah, I like it. So good.
Yeah. So let's move on to another question, which is, how do you handle a struggle with modesty? In your heart, you know it is what is best and honoring God and respecting yourself. But sometimes you find some piece of clothing that is so adorable, you want to bend the rules. How do you stay the course? So this is a question, I think, for both of us. I'll start.
More for you.
Well, I mean, I think this something we were talking about is like, as you get older, the struggle with modesty changes. I think when you're younger and you're kind of trying to get people's attention and like you're seeing other women who are dressing in a certain way and you kind of feel like, oh, I'm covered up. Am I going to get attention if they're showing off and I'm not? I think that struggle is harder. So I get that. And also trendy clothes are really fun and cute. You want to fit in. But as you get older, you want to dress more classic. You want to dress more in line with your personality instead of with trendy clothes. So I find that the way that if I walk into a store, for example, we've been shopping the last couple of days, and I've looked at clothes and I've seen certain things that I think are really cute, and I'll realize, okay, it's too low or it's too short for me or something. The thing that goes through my head is, I like this, but if I buy it, I'll probably only wear it a couple of times before I end up feeling kind of guilty, and then it would be a waste of money. So when I realize that it's like the cost per wear of this item I think is trendy and cute is not very good, then it makes me not really want to buy it anymore. And then also having those arguments in your head for like what, like immediately at the ready for why something isn't good, why it's not good to dress immodestly, then I think that you can kind of bring those to the fore immediately. So if I try something on and it shows too much cleavage, I can immediately respond to myself, this is why you don't want to do that. You know, there's 10 different reasons. I won't go into them now. I've talked about them on my channel a bunch, so you can watch videos on it. But that's how I get with it.
I mean, for me, as you get older and you're my age, I don't really want people looking at me. So I want to dress in a way that is appropriate for my age. And I also remember that even when I was younger, but once I was a mom, I wanted to make sure that I was modeling behavior that was appropriate for my children. So, even when I was a young mom, I wanted to make sure that I was showing my daughters how they should dress, and saying things was a lot less strong than actually wearing modest clothes and letting them see that I really believed in what I was teaching them.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. And I guess that's actually part and parcel of what I do too, is I felt more responsibility since I started Classically Abby to actually follow through with the things that I believe and present a good example. And so, because if I were to go out, right, in something that was really immodest and I were to get recognized, which doesn't happen infrequently, that wouldn't be nice. It wouldn't be fair to my subscribers if I'm preaching one thing and then doing another. And I think that's true as a mother. I think it's true as a grandmother.
Yeah.
So it's like you want to practice what you preach, essentially. Yeah. So that's that answer. And I appreciate all of the people saying, that they love that advice and all of that. I think that's really nice. Okay. So next up, this is from my mom. Was it weird at first to have your kids in the public eye, and how did you come to terms with it? There's actually 3 parts to this question, so should we take them each separately?
Yeah.
Okay. So how did you come to terms with your kids being in the public eye, and was it weird?
First of all, it's something that happened very gradually. It's not
right.
It's not like it's not like Ben and Abby were just like poof. It was something that was a progression.
Mhm.
And even from the time that they were very little, their father, David, played piano at a restaurant
Mhm.
for singers. And he was it was very important to him that the children have a presence, that they weren't scared of speaking in public or appearing in public.
Yeah.
And so when Abby was 3 years old, he plopped her on the piano at Michelle's restaurant, and she sang The Little Mermaid with a microphone. And she was always performing in front of people and became very confident and comfortable with that. So the idea that she would become somebody who would be recognizable and a model for people and famous was an outgrowth of that, but in a good way. I mean, he was also very protective of the children and did not want them to be child stars.
No.
So
it was more about us being comfortable, not about us getting famous. It wasn't like that at all. It was just like, like you've always said, there are people who have like a terrible fear of public speaking, and none of the siblings in our family have that. We are all very comfortable with public speaking. It's like whatever, you're talking to your friends, essentially. You imagine the audience as your friends, not as your enemies.
So the fame that they've gotten has been as adults, and so it wasn't. So they were ready for it, but more than anything, there's a mission that they both have, and that mission, when they remember that mission and that what they're doing is to help people, to make people's lives better, to serve their God, and they remember that mission, then the fame is not what's important. It's the mission. And as long as they remember that, they will be grounded and they will do the right thing. And so fame is just an outgrowth of all that. And it feels very comfortable, I think.
Yeah, I think that's right. And to be clear, I don't think of myself as famous. I think of myself as somebody who has, like, I've been recognized a few times and all that. But I think I think that's exactly right. I think when you try to be famous for fame, that's a real problem because you're looking for love in all the wrong places. I think that's really what it is. If you end up getting into the public eye because you're working on something that happens to push you there and you do have that mission, then it's more of a natural simpatico sort of thing.
I mean, I think their challenge is going to be, as they become more and more famous, to really shield their children from it, and make sure that their children grow up feeling normal and feeling like they can go out and play with other kids and be kids.
Yeah. I mean, I think what's nice is that I believe we're all on the same page in our family, which is like, we don't share our children's identities or anything like that. So that makes it easier too. It's not like our kids are immediately recognizable like the Kardashians' kids, It's not like people are gonna know right off the bat, which is also very helpful. So the next part of this question is, I know a lot of adjustments have to be made when fame comes upon a family, and what was the hardest part? I think this is like a two-part question. And do you ever wish you had privacy like you used to? Mm-hmm. So what was the hardest part of fame, and do you wish you would still have privacy?
I don't feel like I've been invaded. I don't feel, so I still feel very private. We still live a private life. Sometimes when we go out with Ben or Abigail, there might be a security team that it's felt that it's necessary. But the team, they're very professional. They try to make themselves invisible.
Right.
They try to allow us to live as normal a life as we can. So it really hasn't affected me much or our family much at this point.
Yeah. No, and I think, again, I don't think that we lean into the fame part.
Right.
There are some people who want to take advantage of all of that, and they love that part of it. And I think for us, it's part and parcel of it, but it's not so much about, okay, now we get to do the famous things, So yeah, I think that's interesting. And for all the people who are asking questions, for the future, if you would like to submit questions, make sure to subscribe to my premium Substack, which I will have linked in the description box here. But yeah, I think that's all right as far as what you said. Okay, so here's a question on a totally different note. As a mother, were you always able to tell when the person your child was dating was right for them or not? And how early did you allow or encourage your kids to start dating? And you can answer those questions separately.
Yeah. I think I'll answer the second question first.
Okay.
Where we are, and our belief is that when people are ready to date, they better be ready for marriage.
Yes.
And dating is for marriage. If you want to go, if kids are in high school and they want to go out with groups and be with guys and girls together, group dating is fine. Hanging out is fine. But I think that it's a dangerous and slippery slope for kids who are, too young, not ready for marriage, to be going out, because it's really an invitation to be doing things and being pressured into doing things that people aren't comfortable with. And
it's a lot of physical hormone stuff, like wanting to engage with your hormones are crazy in high school,
and trying to feel grown up and trying to, and it's a very awkward time. So I don't really approve of kids in high school dating.
Mm-hmm.
I think that kids should wait until they're in college and ready to make some life decisions.
And I'll answer my point of view on that, which is I agree if the dating you're doing in high school is frivolous. I think that there are some communities, I guess this is really we were sort of talking about this earlier. Mm-hmm. I think there are some communities where people get married really young, and in high school, that is what their philosophy is. Like, people are dating to get married because they get married right out of high school. Whether or not that means you agree that people should be getting married that young is a different story. But if if both people are on the same page in high school, and that's kind of how things are done, I can see it making sense. But generally, at a public school, I would say that most people are not dating for marriage at 16. So if that's true, then dating is it's an excuse to act in an inappropriate way.
Go out for sports, do charity work. There's a lot of other things you can do besides date that are much healthier and will give you much more benefit.
True. So as the first question, were you always able to tell when the person that your child was dating was right for them or not?
When they dated as they got older, they made decisions very quickly. I didn't even really have a chance to do anything about it. I mean, Abby met Jacob, and we got engaged after 5 months. Right. And I had only met Jacob a few times, but from what Abby told me, he was good for her and she was good for him. They made each other better people, and challenged each other to do better. And my other kids, their experiences were pretty much the same. One of them, they were friends before they realized they were in love and wanted to get married, but they knew each other very well. And even when the kids got engaged very quickly, they had seen each other several times.
Oh, no. It wasn't like long distance and never seen each other. Not to say that Jacob and I, we were long distance, but we talked all the time and we visited each other constantly.
You knew each other very well.
Yeah, we did.
So, but it's hard as a parent. It is hard to be a parent of adult children.
Yeah.
It is hard because you have to stand back. You have to let them make certain mistakes. And you have to let them see, you can guide them and try to guide them if they'll take it, but you have to allow them to make mistakes and learn their lessons.
Yeah. I know that there was one guy I dated, horrible guy, but you figured it out before I did.
Oh my God.
That was very frightening for us both.
I was ready to jump on a plane, hire a private detective, and
I know,
do a lot of crazy things.
You were totally ready. And you were right. And what I'll say is that you were also right in that you didn't push it, but you were I think you don't give yourself enough credit for the way that ended. Because I did feel you saying that to me, that this was wrong. I did feel that potently. It was just I needed another friend to help me actually cut the cord. But you were the one who did see it really quickly. I think that often a parent can tell when someone is wrong. They may not necessarily know if it's the exact right person.
I agree.
Because if it's a bad guy, you'll pick it up quickly.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know. I'm not a parent yet, but I would imagine.
I think that's true.
Okay, so The next question is, how was it balancing a career and your role as homemaker and mother to your children? So my mom, I've talked about on my channel, I'll talk about you while you're here. She was the primary, you were like the primary breadwinner in our house. You had the main job. And then my dad was really more like a stay-at-home dad. So, but you also, cooked, and I never felt like you weren't involved at home. So how did you manage that?
Our situation was unique because most families, or many families where the women worked, the man works as well outside the home. And I had the luxury, I used to laugh because I had the luxury of, I didn't pick up the kids from school and I didn't do their homework with them. And I didn't go grocery shopping. And so all the things that, a lot of working moms that fall on a lot of working moms because the dad's working as well and even longer hours, those things were taken care of for me.
Right.
And I would come home. My husband did not like cooking, but he didn't mind washing.
By the time I was like maybe 13 or 14, Dad had learned like 3 recipes that he could do. Yeah. But other than that, generally you were the one cooking. So,
I think the big thing, my mom worked, and she was the major breadwinner in the house.
Yeah.
So, this was not new to me. And my mom always said to me, Cindy, the floor doesn't care who washes them. The dishes don't care who washes the dishes, but the children care who reads them the book. So it was very, and she made it very clear that I couldn't do everything, that I couldn't work, long hours and be home long hours and clean the house long hours. So she always encouraged me to get help in the house. So I got a cleaning lady, and we got a nanny for certain hours in the day when my husband had to do things. So what I encourage people is that if both people are going to work, that they make sure that they get enough help in the house. And that,
well, I always really liked that philosophy of like, if you can't get it all done, the thing that matters is the quality time you spend with your kids, not the chores. The chores, it's nice to do, and I think that if you have time and you can, like, that's a good thing. But if you have to choose, spend the time with your kids.
And by the way, I did choose wrong sometimes. There are regrets that I have, like sometimes my husband said, let's go outside on the grass and we'll have a picnic with the kids. And I'd say, oh my God, the kitchen is such a wreck. I have to clean the kitchen. You know what? I was wrong.
And I think that that's true for a lot of moms, though.
Yeah.
Because there is like an impulse, it's a nesting thing. It's like, I want my house to be clean and I want my kids to be in a clean house.
Right.
And then you look back and you're like, did the house really have to be clean? Well, at that moment, maybe it did.
So, but yeah, my advice to people who have those dual roles is just to make sure you have help and realize you can't do it all, and it's okay. It's better to say I can't do it all. I need help, and make arrangements. And it's also important to be grateful for your spouse, for the things that they do, because I think a lot of couples the woman gets upset he didn't take out the garbage or he didn't wash the floor, and why is his work more important than her work, and that whole, to make sure that those kind of issues don't come between you and that you still are grateful for each other and what you do.
Yeah. I think that there's, recognizing that there's chores that everyone hates to do. But being married is just figuring out who's going to do them and when. And it's just like, if you were not married, you would be doing all of it. So it's nice that you have somebody who could take some of it sometimes. That I agree with. I mean, obviously I don't have children yet, but I can imagine that everything you're saying makes sense to me. Stuff that it does make me feel better when I think about having kids, because you're very realistic. It makes me feel like I'm not going to have to do everything, and you're not going to look at me like, Abby, why aren't you perfect? Like, you're so
there's no such
realistic
thing as a super mom. It's just
right.
It's not real.
Yeah, and I think that it's nice to have a mom who's like, really, you want us to succeed, and you want us as moms to feel good about being moms and good about our work and good about our marriages. And it's like, it's nice to have that. I'm really lucky.
And by the way, the marriage comes first.
Yeah.
And
Before the
once
work.
Once you have kids, the biggest gift you can give them is a happy home and a happy marriage between you. Do not let jobs and work come between you.
Yeah. I think that's really important to remember in today's day and age. And so I think we'll take maybe one more question.
Okay.
Does that sound good?
Mm-hmm.
So someone asked, what advice would my mom give concerning anger and not being so quick to get angry? Lately, I'm struggling with that, and it's a horrible feeling.
Mm-hmm. You know, it's funny. Abby and I were kind of talking about this before, and the truth is, I think Abby has a better answer than I do for that.
So I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on that, and then you can respond and whatever, because I'm sure you'll have things to say. So my first initial thing to say is anger is not a bad emotion. It's an important emotion. I've struggled with that a lot, not with getting angry, with repressing anger a lot in my life. And I end up feeling, I didn't realize, but that feeling you get when you're down and you don't know why, a lot of the time that's the root of that is an anger that you don't want to express. So knowing that anger is an emotion that everyone has, but knowing how to express it in a healthy way, I think is really important. Mm-hmm. I think that especially, I kind of want to say, especially for women, we feel uncomfortable expressing anger. And so we get sad instead, instead of saying, no, I'm allowed to be angry. Now, how I show that to people and how I act at people, that's important to also take into account. But I think first and foremost is anger is not bad. A lot of the time, anger is justified, and it's important to understand why you're angry so that you can address it.
I also think that you have to examine how you grew up. And I mean, there's a lot of homes where one parent gets angry a lot, and then the other parent doesn't respond well to that anger or responds in a different way. For me, anger is the toughest emotion to respond to.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Yeah, so I don't like conflict. I don't like people being upset with each other. It's very upsetting to me. And a part of that is that, you know, my dad would get angry and my mom would kind of say,
right, brush it off.
Yeah, and not really listen. So anger is a tough one. And
yes.
And I think that these are good questions for you to ask. What's okay? How is it okay to express your anger? And when you have children, how do you teach them to express their anger in a positive way? And how do you respond to anger? You know, I think that I'm glad you're asking the question because it's a really important one.
Yeah. And so I think the second part of it is if you're quick to anger and you find that you're getting angry a lot, then look at the situations in which you're getting angry. Because like my mom said, there's probably a root in your childhood. There might be something going on in your life that you're not addressing. Often I find that anger will come up in specific situations a lot rather than all over the place. And if it is more specific to specific situations, maybe with one person in particular or in one area of your life, then maybe try and figure out, okay, I need to think about what is making me angry overall rather than this specific situation right now. Mm-hmm. Because especially if you're saying that your anger is happening in a lot of different times, then it's probably not just about this specific situation and this specific situation. It's probably about something a little bit deeper. So thinking about, okay, why am I angry? Taking some time outside of the heat of the moment and trying to figure out, okay, where am I at emotionally? Why am I doing this?
I mean, I think that a lot of people get angry when they don't feel like they're being heard.
Mm-hmm.
And
which can be, I don't mean to interrupt you, but which can be something that's real or imagined. And I think that's something to keep in mind. A lot of the time when you hear the idea, I'm not being heard, we assume that you actually aren't being heard. But there are also times where we put ourselves in situations where we only see our own point of view and our own perspective. And if you aren't viewing the other person's perspective, you can't understand why they would act in that way to you. You immediately assume it's for the worst possible reason. Then that's not necessarily on that person. It might be on you.
I mean, I think one of the important things here is if you feel that your anger and your response to things in anger is getting in the way of relationships, then you really do need to examine it. You may need to go to somebody professional and talk this through. How, if your anger is really inhibiting your ability to have relationships, then it's a problem that you need to deal with.
Yeah.
And work on.
Yeah. And that can be, I definitely think that, we talk about this on my channel a lot, or at least I try to, if I don't talk about it enough. Therapy is always a good option, especially with something that is inhibiting your life. If you find that it is, yeah, why not? I mean, especially nowadays, we have these things like BetterHelp, these things where you can like text a therapist or like call your therapist on Zoom. You don't even have to go to an office anymore. So I think that that's, a wonderful thing that we have access to. And if it's something that you feel like it's more than just something you can handle on your own, which, it's important to be able to admit something like that.
Yeah, I mean, in all of this, being a working mom, being a stay-at-home mom, recognizing that we have certain limitations, and making sure that we do things to help ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I think that's the last question we're going to take tonight. But thank you so much for coming on my channel.
I love you.
I love you too. It's always nice to have my mom here.
And I'm really proud of you.
Oh, thank you.
Because I think you're really helping people.
Well, that's nice.
There you go.
I'm lucky to have you as a mom, and you know how I feel about that. So I'm just happy that you guys could join us tonight. And, it's always really fun when my mom can join us, because I feel like I can give you guys, a lot of good advice, but having somebody who has lived more life than I have, and has, raised 4 children, it's just a different perspective, and one that often is a little more wise. So I appreciate you coming on. If you want to submit questions for future Substack live streams like this one, make sure you are subscribed to my premium Substack, where you can get a lot of exclusive content, as well as submit questions for videos like this. And I just announced today that we are doing a book club over at Classically Abby. If you want to find out what book we are reading, then you have to make sure that you are subscribed. So I'm so excited. We're going to be doing like discussions and stuff.
I think you'll join me.
Well, you should.
Okay.
I think you'll like it. So thank you guys again for joining us tonight, and we'll see you later. And then the end stream is always going to be a little awkward. So bye.